Welcome to the Trend Reddit channel. This is where we come together to share interesting, funny, and emotional stories about family life. Each episode will be a journey through familiar situations that any of us might encounter in our own families. Let's laugh, reflect, and sometimes shed a tear together with these meaningful stories. If you love heartwarming and relatable stories, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any of our videos. And make sure to click the notification bell to get the earliest updates on our new episodes. Thank you for supporting and being part of Trend Reddit. On a radiant summer morning, the sun cast shimmering reflections on the tranquil waves, greeting the Carter family as they arrived at a luxurious beachside resort. This much-anticipated vacation was a rare opportunity for the family to bond and rejuvenate, leaving behind the demands of their everyday lives. Michael Carter, a seasoned FBI agent, had spent countless hours working undercover, and the thrill of family time was a welcome reprieve. His wife, Sophia, a dedicated lawyer known for her tireless commitment to social justice, was equally eager to escape the weight of her responsibilities, if only for a few days. Their two children, Noah and Mia, bounded out of the car, eyes sparkling with excitement. 12-year-old Noah, ever the curious observer, scanned the surroundings with fascination, while 7-year-old Mia danced around, her playful innocence evident as she laughed and twirled. As they settled in, Michael reclined on a poolside lounger, soaking in the sun's warmth. He felt a rare moment of peace wash over him, grateful for the time away from the pressures of work. Sophia nestled next to him, absorbed in a book, her mind temporarily free from the complexities of her legal battles. The soothing sounds of the resort enveloped them, gentle waves lapping at the shore, children's laughter ringing through the air. Noah and Mia splashed joyfully in the pool, their giggles echoing around the area, creating an atmosphere of blissful contentment. However, as the day unfolded, the peaceful ambience began to wane. A tall security guard approached their area, clad in a dark polo shirt that matched his authoritative demeanor. He hesitated for a moment, clearly uncomfortable with his task, yet determined to fulfill it. The guard's expression hardened as he asked Michael for verification of their guest status, a demand that felt unnecessary and intrusive. Michael, ever calm, provided their room number and details, a part of him puzzled by the request. Sophia's instincts kicked in, her mind raced back to moments in her career when racial profiling had reared its ugly head, leaving her deeply unsettled. Why is he asking for verification, she thought, her lawyer's intuition alarmed. The tension thickened in the air as the guard lingered, his gaze shifting between Michael and the surrounding guests. The once idyllic scene began to feel charged with uncertainty. Moments later, the guard returned, now flanked by a colleague who mirrored his aggressive stance. Their demeanor shifted dramatically as they demanded the family vacate the pool area, their tone dripping with authority. Michael attempted to reason with them, his voice steady but firm, hoping to defuse the situation before it escalated. "Can you please explain why we need to leave?" he inquired, his patience thinning. The guards, however, remained unyielding, their attitudes reflecting a profound disregard for Michael's explanation and the legitimacy of his presence. Sophia couldn't stand idly by. Rising to her feet, she confronted the guards, her voice cutting through the tension. "What's your basis for this? You can't just remove us without justification." Her words, fueled by frustration and an unwavering sense of justice, resonated in the atmosphere thick with conflict. She articulated the fear and discomfort of being unjustly targeted, highlighting the racial biases that plagued society. Just as the standoff reached a boiling point, a group of local police officers arrived on the scene. Their stern expressions and authoritative presence escalated the already volatile situation. One officer, imposing and unsympathetic, stepped forward, demanding Michael's identification. "I'm an FBI agent," Michael stated, his voice even but his heart racing. "I'm here with my family on vacation." Yet, his assertion fell on deaf ears as the officer's scornful demeanor persisted. The situation spiraled out of control, culminating in a shocking moment that froze time for the Carter family. Michael found himself unjustly handcuffed, the cold metal biting into his skin. Panic surged through Noah and Mia, their innocent eyes wide with confusion and fear as they witnessed their father's humiliation. This harrowing experience was more than just a moment of personal injustice, it was a stark representation of the emotional turmoil that racial profiling could inflict on a family. As Michael stood there, restrained in front of his terrified children, the gravity of the situation weighed heavily on them all, marking the beginning of a fight far greater than any vacation they had anticipated. The Carter family's arrival at the luxurious beachside resort marked the start of an eagerly awaited vacation. It was a chance for them to escape their busy lives and reconnect as a family. Michael Carter, a veteran FBI agent, had sacrificed countless weekends for his demanding job, and now, he relished the opportunity for quality time with his loved ones. The sun hung high in the sky, casting golden rays that sparkled on the tranquil ocean. With a relaxed sigh, Michael settled onto a comfortable lounger by the pool, allowing the warmth of the sun to envelop him. The sound of waves lapping at the shore created a soothing backdrop, harmonizing perfectly with the laughter of vacationers around them. Sophia, Michael's wife and a passionate lawyer known for her dedication to social justice, found a cozy spot next to him. She pulled out a well-worn novel, eager to immerse herself in its pages. This brief escape from her demanding career was much needed, the stress of her job often felt overwhelming. As she flipped through the pages, a sense of calm washed over her, allowing her to momentarily forget the challenges awaiting her back home. Noah and Mia, full of youthful energy, darted toward the pool with joyful shouts. Noah, at 12 years old, was filled with a sense of adventure, eager to explore every corner of the resort. His inquisitive nature often led him to discover new things, and today was no exception. Mia, with her innocent spirit, followed closely behind, her laughter echoing like music. She delighted in every splash and playful dive, her small frame darting through the water with glee. The family enjoyed this rare moment of togetherness, surrounded by the beauty of the resort. As Michael lay back on his lounger, he glanced at his children, their faces illuminated with pure joy. It was a sight he wished he could capture forever, a snapshot of happiness that reminded him of the importance of family. In that peaceful moment, the outside world felt far away. Michael savored the tranquility, relishing the opportunity to recharge. The laughter of his children resonated in his heart, and he silently vowed to protect these moments of bliss. Sophia, noticing Michael's contentment, smiled to herself. She cherished the times when their family could simply be together, free from distractions and obligations. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, casting a warm glow over the resort, the Carter family settled into a rhythm of relaxation. They ventured to the beach, where soft sands greeted their feet. Michael and Noah dug into the sand, crafting elaborate castles while Mia chased the tide, her laughter mingling with the ocean's whispers. The family relished the playful competition, each member caught up in the joy of the moment. Sophia captured the scene on her phone, wanting to preserve the laughter and smiles for years to come. This vacation was not just a getaway, it was a reminder of their bond, a chance to create lasting memories that would carry them through the challenges of everyday life. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, and the family gathered for a photo, their faces glowing with happiness. As the evening approached, they returned to the poolside, where the lights illuminated the area, creating a magical atmosphere. The sound of music wafted through the air, adding to the festive ambience. Couples danced nearby, while families shared stories and laughter. Michael felt a deep sense of belonging in this vibrant atmosphere, surrounded by others who were enjoying life to its fullest. The evening culminated with a shared meal at the resort's outdoor restaurant, where the family indulged in delicious seafood and tropical fruits. They swapped stories, laughter ringing out amidst the clinking of glasses. Michael listened intently as Noah excitedly recounted his favorite parts of the day, while Mia's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she asked questions about everything they had experienced. As night fell, Michael looked at his family, their faces illuminated by the warm glow of string lights above. In that moment, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. This time together was a rare gift, one he would cherish. They were not just enjoying a vacation, they were weaving a tapestry of love and connection, a memory that would stay with them long after they returned to their daily lives. As the sun shone brightly over the resort, the Carter family continued to bask in the joy of their vacation. However, the peaceful atmosphere was soon disrupted. While Michael enjoyed a refreshing drink by the pool, a tall security guard approached them, his posture rigid and his expression serious. Dressed in a dark polo shirt, he exuded authority but appeared uncomfortable with the task at hand. "Excuse me, sir," the guard began, his voice firm. "I need to verify your guest status." Michael looked up, momentarily surprised by the intrusion. "Sure, no problem," he replied, maintaining his calm demeanor. He provided their room number and the details required, attempting to gauge the reason for the guard's sudden appearance. Sophia, seated nearby, felt an unsettling tension rise within her. She had always been acutely aware of the implications of being perceived as an outsider, especially in environments where she had previously faced subtle forms of bias. The atmosphere around them shifted, and she found herself reflecting on past experiences where racial profiling had marred moments of joy. Noah, who had been floating on his back in the pool, turned to observe the exchange. His curious nature prompted him to question why the guards seemed focused solely on their family. Mia, blissfully unaware of the underlying tension, continued to splash in the water, her laughter ringing out, yet even her innocence could not mask the growing unease. The guard hesitated, his gaze flicking between Michael and the other guests lounging around the pool. The once carefree environment began to feel charged with an undercurrent of scrutiny. Michael sensed that the guard's line of questioning was more than just a routine check, something deeper was at play. Moments later, the guard returned with a colleague who mirrored his aggressive stance. This new arrival, equally imposing, approached with an air of authority that sent a shiver down Michael's spine. "You need to leave the pool area," the guard demanded, his tone sharp and unyielding. Confusion washed over Michael. "What? Why? We've done nothing wrong." He felt a wave of frustration build as he tried to understand the sudden change in their treatment. The colleague's expression hardened. "We have reason to believe you don't belong here." Michael's heart raced, the tension in the air palpable. He took a deep breath, attempting to remain composed. "I'm here with my family on vacation. We're paying guests." But the guards seemed unmoved, their attitudes suggesting that Michael's explanations held little weight. Sophia, witnessing the escalating situation, stood up and moved closer, her protective instincts kicking in. "What's the issue here?" she asked, her voice steady but filled with concern. "Why are you treating us like this?" The guards exchanged glances, their demeanor still aggressive. Sophia's determination intensified. "You can't just kick us out without any justification. This is unacceptable." Her words hung in the air, challenging the guard's authority. Noah and Mia, observing their mother's fierce defense, felt a mixture of fear and confusion. They could sense that something was wrong, but the details were lost on their innocent minds. Sophia continued to press the guards, her voice rising slightly. "This feels like racial profiling. We have a right to be here just like everyone else." The guards remained stoic, unyielding to her pleas. The situation quickly escalated as more guests began to take notice. Whispers and murmurs spread among the crowd, their attention drawn to the unfolding drama. It was then that a group of local police officers arrived on the scene, their presence intensifying the tension. The sight of law enforcement sent a jolt through the family. A stern-looking officer stepped forward, his expression cold and commanding. "If you find it interesting, please like it. If not, please comment number 1. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I need to see your identification," he ordered Michael without any preamble. Michael felt the weight of the moment, the unfairness of it all crashing down on him. "I'm an FBI agent," he stated, his voice steady yet filled with disbelief. "I'm here with my family on vacation." The officer's demeanor did not change. "Identification, now." Michael reached for his wallet, his heart pounding in his chest. The escalating nature of the situation was surreal, and he couldn't shake the feeling of injustice that enveloped him. As he presented his ID, the emotional impact of the events began to set in, a heavy cloud of confusion and anger settling over the family. The day that had started with laughter and joy was rapidly transforming into a nightmare, leaving them vulnerable and exposed. The situation escalated dramatically as Michael handed over his identification to the police officer. The atmosphere had shifted from a day of family fun to one filled with tension and confusion. Michael's heart raced as he watched the officer scrutinize his ID, a sense of disbelief washing over him. The police officer's eyes narrowed, his expression skeptical. "You're an FBI agent, huh?" he questioned, his tone dripping with skepticism. "Let me see some proof." Michael felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "I just showed you my ID," he replied, trying to maintain his composure. "Why is this happening?" "We're just here to enjoy our vacation." But the officer's demeanor suggested that his words fell on deaf ears. The guards, emboldened by the arrival of law enforcement, stood nearby with a renewed sense of authority. Their previous aggression seemed amplified by the presence of the police, and the tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Sophia, feeling a surge of adrenaline, stepped forward again. "This is completely unwarranted. You're treating us like criminals without any reason." Her voice rang out, echoing across the pool area, drawing the attention of other guests who had been quietly observing the unfolding drama. Michael glanced at her, a mixture of admiration and worry in his eyes. He could see the determination in her stance, but he also sensed the fear beginning to creep into her expression. The children, wide-eyed and anxious, watched their parents grapple with a situation that felt increasingly surreal. "Ma'am, step back," the officer ordered Sophia, his voice sharp. "We're handling this." "No, you're not," she insisted, her voice firm. "You're making a huge mistake." She turned to the gathering crowd, her desperation rising. "Look at what's happening. We're being singled out for no reason." As the tension peaked, another police officer joined the scene, a younger man with an uncertain expression. He seemed to sense the growing unrest among the onlookers, who were now murmuring among themselves, some expressing their shock and disbelief at the unfolding situation. Michael felt the weight of the moment bearing down on him, the emotional strain visible in his children's faces. Noah's brow furrowed with confusion while Mia clutched her brother's arm, sensing that something was terribly wrong. The first officer stepped closer to Michael, his tone taking on a more aggressive edge. "You need to comply with our requests. If you don't, things are going to get ugly." The threat hung in the air like a dark cloud. Michael's heart raced. "I'm not doing anything wrong. You have no reason to treat us this way." His voice remained steady, but he could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Just as the situation appeared ready to boil over, the younger officer finally intervened. "Let's just take a step back and calm down," he suggested, trying to ease the tension. But his words did little to quell the storm brewing around them. The first officer, however, seemed unyielding. "You're just making it worse. You should know better than to cause a scene." His eyes flicked toward the gathering crowd, sensing the shift in public sentiment. Sophia was undeterred. "You're the ones causing a scene. We came here for a family vacation, and you're treating us like we're criminals." Her voice grew louder, her frustration boiling over. The crowd had begun to swell, with more guests peering over from the nearby areas, drawn by the commotion. Whispers of solidarity spread through the onlookers, some nodding in agreement with Sophia's claims of injustice. The first officer finally turned his attention back to Michael, who was growing increasingly frustrated. "We're not going anywhere until we get this sorted out," he said defiantly. At that moment, another officer, who had been observing from the sidelines, stepped forward. "Hey, let's just check the security footage," he suggested, attempting to de-escalate the situation. "Maybe there's a misunderstanding here." Michael felt a glimmer of hope at the mention of the footage. "Thank you," he said, trying to regain some composure. "That could help clarify everything." However, before anything could be resolved, the first officer's demeanor turned hostile once again. "We don't need to see any footage," he snapped. "You're making this more complicated than it needs to be." The tension reached a breaking point as Michael felt the cold grip of handcuffs snap around his wrists. "What are you doing?" he exclaimed, disbelief flooding his voice. The sudden shift from a peaceful day to this moment of humiliation felt surreal. Sophia gasped, her heart sinking as she watched her husband being restrained. The emotional weight of the situation crashed down on the entire family, the laughter and joy of the day vanishing in an instant. As Michael stood there, handcuffed in front of his terrified children, the gravity of the moment crystallized into a painful reality, marking a dramatic shift in their vacation, one that would leave lasting scars. As the handcuffs clicked shut around Michael's wrists, the world around him began to fade into a blur. The overwhelming sensation of disbelief washed over him, mixing with anger and fear. The warm sun that had graced their vacation turned into an indifferent witness to the chaos unfolding at the resort. Sophia's heart raced as she watched her husband being restrained, a wave of panic gripping her. "You can't do this," she shouted, her voice piercing through the air. She stepped forward, her desperation mounting as she sought to reach Michael. "He's an FBI agent. You have no right to treat him this way." The first officer maintained his icy demeanor, his eyes narrowing. "You need to back off, lady," he retorted. "You're only making things worse." Noah and Mia stood frozen, their wide eyes reflecting confusion and fear. Noah clutched Mia's hand tightly, both children unable to process the abrupt change from their day of fun to this moment of terror. The sight of their father in handcuffs sent shockwaves through them, a harsh lesson in injustice that they were far too young to understand fully. Sophia's voice quivered with a mix of anger and determination. "You're abusing your power. We're guests here, and you have no justification for this." Her words echoed through the crowd, drawing the attention of more onlookers who had gathered, their expressions a mix of shock and disbelief at the unfolding scene. The younger officer, who had attempted to mediate earlier, stepped closer to Michael. "Let's just take a moment and figure this out," he said, trying to de-escalate the situation. His voice was softer, hinting at a willingness to listen, but the first officer remained unmoved. "Enough with the theatrics," he snapped, turning his attention back to Michael. "You're going to need to calm down. We're just doing our jobs here." Michael felt a surge of frustration as he struggled against the cuffs. "You're not doing your job. You're making a mockery of the very principles you're supposed to uphold." His voice rang out, fueled by a mix of anger and desperation. The crowd continued to grow, with whispers of support emerging among the guests. Many began to record the incident on their phones, capturing the injustice that unfolded before them. Sophia felt a flicker of hope as she noticed a few sympathetic faces in the crowd, people nodding in agreement with her stance. "Look at what's happening here," she shouted, gesturing to the gathering onlookers. "This isn't just about my husband, it's about all of us. We deserve to be treated with respect." At that moment, a new figure entered the scene, another officer, one with a more authoritative presence. He approached the group with a serious expression, taking in the tense atmosphere. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice steady but commanding. The first officer quickly tried to explain, but Michael seized the opportunity to speak. "We're being unjustly targeted," he asserted. "I'm an FBI agent, here on vacation with my family. There's been a terrible misunderstanding." The new officer glanced at the younger officer, who nodded slightly, encouraging him to listen. The crowd held its breath, hoping for some resolution to the escalating crisis. "I want to see what led to this," the authoritative officer stated firmly. "If there's a misunderstanding, we need to clear it up immediately." The first officer's bravado faltered slightly, and he nodded, although the irritation was clear on his face. "Fine, let's check the security footage. But this doesn't change the fact that they shouldn't have been in the pool without being verified." Michael felt a glimmer of hope as the younger officer moved to speak with the resort staff about accessing the footage. Sophia, still seething with frustration, stood her ground beside Michael, her gaze unwavering. "This has to stop now," she demanded, her voice filled with conviction. The crowd began to murmur among themselves, the sentiment shifting in favor of the Carters. Many expressed their shock at the treatment Michael and his family had received, their voices rising in support. "Let him go," someone shouted from the back of the crowd, igniting a wave of agreement among the guests. Mia's small hand tugged at Noah's sleeve, her innocent face filled with worry. "Will Daddy be okay?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Noah wrapped his arm around her, trying to offer comfort despite his own fear. "I don't know, but we have to believe he will," he replied softly. As tensions remained high, the atmosphere shifted once more. The younger officer returned, a somber expression on his face. "We're going to review the footage and sort this out," he said, glancing at Michael with a hint of empathy. Just as hope began to flicker, the first officer continued to insist on the family's guilt. "I still say you're in the wrong," he grumbled, unwilling to back down. But the presence of the new officer brought a sense of authority that couldn't be easily dismissed. The emotional turmoil, confusion, and tension hung in the air, threatening to burst into chaos, while the Carters stood together, ready to fight against the injustice they had faced. Sophia stood resolutely beside Michael, her heart racing but her spirit unyielding. The sight of her husband in handcuffs, the fear in her children's eyes, and the weight of the situation fueled her determination to fight back against the injustice they faced. The crowd murmured with growing support, a wave of solidarity building among the guests who had gathered around them. "You can't just treat my family like this," she exclaimed, her voice rising above the noise. "This is not how you should treat any guest, let alone a family simply trying to enjoy their vacation." The force of her words resonated, and she felt the crowd shifting in her favor, their collective outrage becoming palpable. The first officer, still defiant, crossed his arms. "We're doing our jobs," he insisted, but his tone lacked conviction. He shifted uneasily under the scrutiny of the onlookers. "This isn't about race or profiling, it's about maintaining order." "Maintaining order?" Sophia shot back, incredulity lacing her voice. "Order doesn't come from treating people with disrespect and suspicion. It comes from understanding and fairness." Michael, still handcuffed, felt a surge of pride in Sophia's fierce defense. He knew they were facing an uphill battle, but her bravery gave him strength. "This is not how you should treat any family," he added, his voice steady despite the humiliation he felt. "I've dedicated my life to serving and protecting others, and now I'm being treated like a criminal in front of my children." The younger officer observed the scene, his brow furrowed with concern. He could sense the mounting pressure from the crowd and the growing tension in the air. "Let's just take a step back and breathe," he urged, hoping to calm the situation. "We can resolve this peacefully." Sophia pressed on, undeterred by the chaos surrounding them. "You need to understand the impact of your actions. You're not just harming my husband, you're traumatizing our children. They deserve to see justice, not fear." Her voice resonated through the crowd, garnering nods of agreement and support from those watching. Noah, feeling a mixture of confusion and anger, stepped forward. "Why is my dad in handcuffs? He hasn't done anything wrong." His young voice cut through the tension, carrying the weight of innocence and clarity. The crowd reacted, murmurs of discontent growing louder. "Let him go," someone shouted, echoing Noah's sentiment. Mia, still clutching Noah's hand, looked up at her brother with wide, frightened eyes. "Are we going to be okay?" she whispered, the fear evident in her voice. Noah nodded, trying to project confidence he didn't entirely feel. "We will be, Mia. Mom and Dad are strong. We just have to believe in them." Sophia's heart ached for her children, but she took solace in their resilience. "We're going to get through this together," she reassured them, her voice steady and filled with love. The authoritative officer stepped in, trying to restore order. "Let's focus on the facts here," he said, attempting to regain control of the situation. "We'll review the security footage and sort this out." Michael, still restrained, felt a mix of relief and frustration. This shouldn't have happened in the first place. You need to understand that your actions have real consequences. The atmosphere shifted once more as the crowd's support intensified. More voices joined in, demanding justice for the Carter family. The solidarity among the guests grew louder, a chorus of calls for fairness ringing through the air. "Enough is enough," a woman shouted from the crowd. "This is unacceptable treatment for anyone." Sophia seized the moment, her heart swelling with hope. "You see," she called out to the crowd, rallying their support. We are all here together, and we demand to be treated with dignity. This isn't just about us, it's about everyone who has ever faced unjust treatment. The onlookers began to chant, their voices growing stronger. Let them go! Let them go! The rhythm of their demands filled the air, a powerful testament to unity and resilience. The younger officer, realizing the tide was turning, approached the first officer, his expression one of concern. Maybe we should consider the implications of this situation. The crowd is right, we need to de-escalate before things get worse. The first officer hesitated, the pressure of the crowd weighing heavily on him. He shot a glance at the authoritative officer, who was now assessing the growing unrest among the guests. Sophia could see the change in the officer's demeanor. They were beginning to recognize the gravity of their actions, the impact on the family, and the community surrounding them. In that moment, Michael felt a sense of hope, bolstered by the unity of the crowd and the unwavering spirit of his family. Together, they were standing up against injustice, their voices rising above the fear that threatened to overwhelm them. The fight was far from over, but they were ready to face it head-on, fueled by love, determination, and a commitment to justice. As the crowd's chanting reverberated through the air, a palpable tension hung over the scene, thick with anticipation and emotion. The younger officer, sensing the urgency of the moment, stepped closer to his superior, his voice low but earnest. We need to consider the situation carefully. This isn't just a misunderstanding, it's becoming a public relations nightmare for us. The authoritative officer nodded, his brow furrowing as he absorbed the gravity of the unfolding situation. Let's check the security footage. It's clear that we're on the verge of something much bigger if we don't handle this right. Michael felt a surge of cautious hope as the first officer reluctantly agreed. All right, let's take a look at the footage, he conceded, his tone begrudging. He gestured toward the resort's management, who had been observing the scene from a distance, their expressions filled with concern. Sophia, standing firm beside Michael, could feel the crowd's energy shifting. The growing momentum of support was undeniable, and she knew they had made their voices heard. Thank you, she said, directing her words to the younger officer. This is all we've been asking for, a fair chance to clarify what happened. As the resort's staff hurried to retrieve the security footage, the atmosphere around the pool area began to calm, though the tension still lingered. Michael remained handcuffed, but the sense of unity from the crowd gave him strength. He felt his family's resolve beside him, bolstered by their shared fight against the injustice they had faced. When the footage was finally retrieved, the scene shifted to a large monitor set up near the pool area. The crowd drew closer, curiosity and anticipation bubbling in the air as everyone prepared to witness the events that had unfolded moments earlier. The video played, and the initial moments of the family's arrival were shown, Michael, Sophia, Noah, and Mia, all smiles and laughter, embodying the spirit of a carefree vacation. But as the security guard approached, the mood shifted. The footage showed the guard's aggressive demeanor and the subsequent interactions with Michael and Sophia. As the video continued, the escalating confrontation became evident. The tension rose as the guard's colleague joined him, their treatment of the family growing increasingly hostile. The clip revealed the moment Michael was handcuffed, and gasps rippled through the crowd as they witnessed the indignity and emotional toll of that moment. See? Sophia spoke out, her voice strong as she addressed the gathered crowd. This is what we were fighting against. It's a perfect example of how things can go horribly wrong when assumptions are made. The authoritative officer watched intently, a frown etched on his face as the reality of the situation became clear. This is unacceptable, he muttered under his breath, a mixture of disbelief and anger coursing through him. As the footage concluded, an awkward silence fell over the crowd, but the atmosphere shifted as the younger officer finally addressed the family. I want to apologize for what you've experienced today. It was wrong, and we recognize that now. Michael, still reeling from the events, nodded, appreciating the acknowledgement. Thank you, he replied, his voice measured. It's about accountability. We need to ensure this doesn't happen again, not just for our family, but for anyone else who comes here. The authoritative officer stepped forward, clearly shaken by the events he had just witnessed. We'll be reviewing our protocols and how we handle guest interactions, he stated, his voice serious. I can assure you that your experience today will not be taken lightly. Sophia felt a rush of relief at the officer's commitment. We appreciate that. It's important for everyone to feel safe and respected in places like this. As the crowd began to disperse, some guests approached the Carters, offering their support and expressing solidarity. Words of encouragement filled the air, and Sophia's heart swelled at the overwhelming show of unity. Mia, still clutching Noah's hand, looked up at her parents, her innocent eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and relief. Are we okay now? She asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael knelt down to meet her gaze, his heart full. Yes, sweetheart. We're okay. We're going to be all right. Noah wrapped an arm around Mia, pulling her close. We're a team, he reassured her, a brave smile lighting up his face. As the family took a moment to gather themselves, the sun began to set in the distance, casting a warm glow over the resort. While their vacation had taken an unexpected turn, Michael and Sophia realized that they had emerged stronger and more united than ever. They exchanged glances filled with gratitude and determination, ready to take the next steps forward. With a renewed sense of purpose, they vowed to pursue justice, not just for themselves but for others who had faced similar injustices. Their fight wasn't over, it had only just begun. In the aftermath of the confrontation, the Carter family found themselves in a surreal haze. The excitement of their vacation had transformed into a sobering reality, yet they were determined to turn their experience into a catalyst for change. After the officers had apologized and acknowledged their wrongdoings, the family took a moment to collect themselves, still reeling from the emotional toll of the day. Once they returned to their hotel room, the atmosphere was heavy with reflection. Michael took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on him. We need to talk about what happened, he said, gathering his family around the small table in their suite. Sophia nodded, her expression resolute. We can't let this go. It's essential that we take action. This isn't just about us, it's about ensuring that no other family experiences what we just did. Noah looked up, his curiosity piqued. But what can we do, Dad? Michael turned to his son, appreciating the innocence in his question. We can raise awareness about racial profiling and advocate for change. We can contact organizations that fight for civil rights and share our story. Mia, sensing the seriousness of the conversation, shifted closer to her mother. I don't want anyone else to feel scared like we did, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Sophia wrapped her arm around Mia, her heart swelling with pride for her children's empathy. Exactly, honey. We can help make a difference. It starts with us. As the evening wore on, the family discussed their next steps. Sophia reached for her phone and began to call her law office, initiating the process of legal action against the resort and the police department. She felt a mix of determination and apprehension, knowing the road ahead would not be easy but believing in the importance of their fight. Hello, this is Sophia Carter, she began, her voice steady as she outlined the events of the day. We need to take immediate action regarding a case of racial profiling and unjust treatment during our stay at the resort. As Sophia spoke, Michael observed his wife, filled with admiration for her courage. He could see the fire in her eyes, a spark that had been ignited by their experience. Once the call ended, she turned to Michael. They're going to help us gather the evidence we need. This has to be addressed, we can't allow it to be swept under the rug. Noah listened intently, processing the significance of the situation. Are we going to tell everyone what happened? He asked, his voice a mixture of eagerness and trepidation. Absolutely, Michael replied. The more people know about this, the more likely we can create change. We need to show that we won't stand for injustice. Sophia began drafting a statement detailing their experience, determined to share their story publicly. She highlighted the emotional impact on their family, particularly on Noah and Mia, emphasizing that they had been targeted for no reason other than the color of their skin. As the night deepened, the family continued to brainstorm ideas. they discussed the possibility of reaching out to local news outlets and civil rights organizations, determined to make their voices heard. The emotional weight of the day lingered, but they felt a renewed sense of purpose, each step they took solidifying their commitment to justice. After a long day, the family gathered on the balcony of their suite, watching the stars twinkle against the darkened sky. The soothing sound of the ocean waves below provided a stark contrast to the turmoil they had experienced. "We'll turn this into something positive," Sophia said, breaking the silence. "We have the power to inspire change, to make people aware of what happens when assumptions are made." Michael nodded in agreement. "We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone who has ever felt marginalized or unfairly treated." As they sat together, a sense of unity enveloped them. Noah took Mia's hand, squeezing it gently. "We're a team," he reminded her, and his words echoed the sentiment that bound them all. Determined to forge ahead, the Carters resolved to document their journey, chronicling their experiences as they navigated the complexities of their legal battle. They understood that while the fight ahead would be challenging, it was necessary. They would emerge stronger, not just for themselves, but for the countless others who had been silenced. Together, they set forth on a path of advocacy, ready to transform their painful experience into a movement for justice, resilience, and hope. As the days turned into weeks, the Carter family found themselves immersed in a journey far more complex than they had anticipated. The aftermath of their vacation had catalyzed a commitment to activism that redefined their understanding of justice and community. With each step they took, they felt the weight of their experience driving them forward, determined to ensure that their voices were heard. The family's story gained traction as Sophia worked tirelessly to share their experiences with local news outlets and civil rights organizations. Articles detailing their confrontation at the resort began to circulate, sparking conversations about racial profiling and the treatment of families in public spaces. Support poured in from various communities, as individuals reached out to express solidarity and share similar stories of injustice they had faced. Noah and Mia, once blissfully unaware of the societal issues surrounding them, became more informed and engaged. They participated in discussions about equality and justice, their young voices contributing to the broader dialogue. Michael and Sophia encouraged their children to ask questions, fostering an environment where curiosity about the world was celebrated. At home, the Carters held family meetings, brainstorming ideas on how they could continue to advocate for change. They planned to attend local rallies and community meetings, eager to learn from others and share their story to inspire action. Sophia connected with organizations dedicated to combating racial injustice, offering their experience as a case study for training sessions aimed at educating law enforcement on the importance of community relations. In their pursuit of justice, the family also worked on a project to create educational materials for schools. They wanted to ensure that young people understood the importance of empathy, respect, and standing up against injustice. As they crafted their message, they reflected on the emotions they had experienced during that fateful vacation, transforming their pain into a powerful narrative of resilience. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, the conversation turned to the future. Michael looked around the table at his loved ones, feeling a swell of pride. "I'm so proud of how we've come together through this," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "This isn't just about our story, it's about the change we can inspire." Sophia nodded in agreement, her eyes shining. "Together, we can make a difference. It's our responsibility to use our experiences to educate others and promote understanding." Noah chimed in, enthusiasm evident in his voice. "I want to help other kids understand that they can speak up too. Just like we did." Mia, still absorbing everything, added, "And we can show them how to be brave." Her innocent conviction sparked smiles all around the table, a reminder of the hope they held. As the family continued to strategize, they also reflected on the emotional toll of their journey. The experience had left scars, yet it had also fostered an unbreakable bond among them. They understood the importance of self-care and made it a priority to spend time together away from their advocacy efforts, cherishing moments of laughter and joy. In the months that followed, the Carters became known in their community as advocates for justice, their story resonating with many who had faced similar struggles. They received invitations to speak at various events, sharing their experiences and emphasizing the need for change within systems that perpetuated bias and discrimination. As they stood together at rallies and community forums, Michael, Sophia, Noah, and Mia felt empowered. They were not merely a family, they had become a symbol of resilience and determination. Their journey was a testament to the power of love and unity, illustrating that even in the face of adversity, they could effect meaningful change. In conclusion, the Carters emerged from their ordeal not just as survivors of an unjust situation but as champions of justice and equality. They had turned their painful experience into a movement, advocating for a world where families could feel safe, respected, and valued. Together, they walked forward with their heads held high, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with hope and a steadfast commitment to making a difference. The lessons they learned would shape their lives forever, and they were determined to continue the fight for a fairer world, not just for themselves, but for all those who had been marginalized and unheard. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.